So I did my video talking about this whole thing from the Lakers side, and now we're going to do it from the Pelicans side. So the Pelicans have Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, Josh Hart, the number 4 pick, which could end up being like Jared Culver, or Darius Garland, or whoever else. They could trade it for somebody, who knows. They're going to draft Zion at number 1. So are the Pelicans in a good position to rebuild this team pretty much? I think so. I think they're in a great position. I mean, I've been team Lonzo for a while now because I think, yeah, okay, the shooting, it is what it is. The free throw shooting is what it is as well. And sometimes the hesitancy to score and passing out of layups, okay, I acknowledge all of this. But I think Lonzo has the potential to be the leading assist guy in the NBA. I think he can be an all-defense dude. I think he could grab 10 rebounds a game if he really wanted to. And I also believe that the dude is a winner. I know his actual record is below 500, but you look at his rookie season, Lonzo, being sometimes the primary ball handler for the Lakers, whatever. And the Lakers were nearly a 500 team with a rookie point guard in the Western Conference. I mean, yeah, overall they won 35 games or whatever, but Lonzo's personal record was like 24-28 that year. Think of how impressive that is. And I know that's not all Lonzo, but to me, that says a lot about the guy. And the fact that even this previous season, we saw just how the defense fell apart without him. And I mean, you look at the Lakers' record since they drafted Lonzo, with him and without him, it is a drastic difference. And it would suggest that Lonzo's on-court impact is kind of massive, even if you can, of course, clown him for the random games where he'll have 7 points, 6 assists, 4 rebounds, and shoot like 2 for 10 from the field. I get it. Ingram, I have been a fan of Ingram because of the size, the defensive versatility. He showed a lot more scoring potential towards the second half of the Lakers season, where he was going off the dribble and pulling up in guys' faces and looking really confident with his jump shot, and in transition he wouldn't hesitate, and of course because he's nearly 7 feet tall, or he actually is 7 feet tall, whatever, he can still finish through contact even though he's a bit of a thin guy, and his appreciation for the little things, defense and passing and rebounding, and you just put all that together, and I think Ingram can be one of the most versatile players in the league, where in a 6-minute stretch, you could have him defend a shooting guard for a couple possessions, and then a power forward for a few other possessions, and then he could hit a corner 3. I understand his three-point shooting needs to improve, but I do think he can be an alright shooter. And then the next possession, he can run a pick and roll. There's so much that Brandon Ingram can do, and I understand, okay, he's probably not going to be the 28 to 30 point scorer that some people thought he was going to be coming out of Duke. That's fine. That does not mean you still can't be a very positive piece for your NBA team. So I like Brandon Ingram a lot. Now, does he still need to get a little bigger? Sure. Does he occasionally dribble himself into trouble? Yes. And if you really tried hard enough, you could say the run he went on with the Lakers was just some hot streak that went a little longer than it should have. Okay. But I still think if you want to get cynical about the dude, you have to acknowledge just all the potential that he has. If we go to Josh Hart, good 3-and-D player. Sure, his jump shot kind of fell off last year, and there was some injury things, but there were stretches of the Lakers season before LeBron got hurt and before all the Anthony Davis trade things happened, which I think were the reasons why the Lakers didn't make the playoffs, because it kind of killed their chemistry and all that stuff. They had lineups where it was like LeBron, Kuzma, and Josh Hart, which were very positive. Sure, that was because of LeBron, I get it, but you need dudes like Josh Hart who just know their place, right? He can defend, he can shoot, he's not going to try too hard on offense. The advanced stats love him because he's efficient and all that stuff. Again, acknowledging this past year was not the best for him. And I think he can just be a nice part of an NBA team. And then finally, we get to the dude who's at the heart of all this. Shout out to Josh Hart one more time. But that is, of course, Zion. Zion is the number one dude amongst all this. And I've said many times how I think Zion's going to be awesome for his rebounding, his defense, because he can be, he's got the physical tools to be a more athletic Draymond, right? Can defend in the perimeter, can defend the post, can protect the rim because the dude can jump out of the gym, can close out from the paint to the three-point line, as that one clip from college would suggest when he blocked that kid's shot. And the dude can just be a force in transition and offensive boards, and his ball handling looks good enough, and I think he can be a low post presence, and his jump shot doesn't even look that bad, and I think he's going to shoot like 10 free throws a game by his third season or something. And then I think when you put all those guys together, especially with Drew Holiday, who I think the Pelicans should keep now, I think the Pelicans have a chance to be a special defensive and transition team. Because you picture this, right? Lonzo already grabs like 7 boards a game, so he gets it. Zion is just running 100 miles an hour down the lane. I could picture some Zion alley-oops from Lonzo. I could actually picture more than some. I could picture an obscene amount of Lonzo to Zion lobs. I can picture the same thing from Drew to Zion. Brandon Ingram, a similar thing. I think Ingram can be an awesome rebounder. He can take it in transition himself. All of these guys can kind of take the ball down themselves on a fast break, but they can also finish a play as well. I guess the one fear being Lonzo still needs to stop passing out of layups and dunks. But yeah, all that stuff just seems really awesome. I guess the fear is the shooting across the board. How good of a shooter is Zion going to be? Is Lonzo ever going to be able to hit a pull-up jumper? I get it. But even so, there's just so many things to like about where the Pelicans are going to go. And now we talk about this 4th pick. So, I don't know what they're going to do with it. Maybe it ends up being Jarrett Culver, Darius Garland, DeAndre Hunter. Hell, it could be frickin', who was the other guy from Duke? Zion, RJ, and then Cameron Reddish. Could be him if they wanted to get wild. I don't know who it's going to end up being, but you would hope that guy can probably make some jump shots if they're going to use the pick or they're going to trade for somebody. That's probably what I would want. Usually you don't want to get too caught up with drafting for need because there's a reason you're towards the bottom of the draft. But given that you're already going to get Zion, maybe you get one kind of freebie where you're like, you know what? It's kind of acknowledged that outside of the top 3, this draft is not exactly star-studded, so perhaps we can use this 4th pick for some dude who can shoot and score like 16 points a game. I don't know. You still have Etuan Moore. He can make some jumpers. Josh Hart can shoot. I think Ingram's got potential still to make shots, so that's really what it's going to come down to. But what is the starting lineup right now for the Pelicans? Assuming they keep Lonzo, which I think is going to happen, hopefully, then it would be Lonzo, Drew, Ingram, Zion, and then some center. And then there's potential for like Ingram at the 4, Zion maybe at the 5, potentially. And yeah. And then of course they have 2 other draft picks after this 4th pick, which is pretty cool. Granted, the picks are going to be in the 20s, we assume, with the Lakers. But even so, good players get selected in that range all the time. So yeah, I think the Pelicans did pretty damn well here. Could you argue, I guess, like if you were really cynical towards Lonzo and Ingram, you could say, well, this wasn't even that good of a return for Anthony Davis. But I think, like, we got to remember, the dude wanted out and was kind of shoehorned to the Lakers anyway. So with all of that applied, yeah, I think they got a pretty good return.